Yeah. Once again, welcome to Luratech's webinar, Scan to PDFA on your mobile device. And mobile scanning has different interpretations, and I saw that several scanning service document outsourcing companies are here. And when you talk about mobile scanning, you normally say, I take a scanner to a customer location. But today, this is really about smartphones and tablets and all this kind of stuff that we all have and carry around day in and day out. And that is obviously also used for, technically speaking, image acquisition. So we take images of documents and call that scanning. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm sorry. My name is Carsten Heiermann. I'm Managing Director, founder of Luratech. And yeah, what we do today really is a little bit look inside the labs at Luratech, because what you'll see later for the absolute majority of you guys is software that you see for the first time. And it's also a new direction or turn we take at Luratech, and that will be followed with way more offering. But I get ahead of myself. So let's talk about scanning on mobile devices. Thing is, it just happens out there. People call that, they probably don't call it digitizing documents with smartphones. They probably call it just, I take a photo of a document and send that to a company that requested me to send some additional documents. In the past, people probably used to fill out a form, copy their ID, or create a signed copy, and put that in an envelope and send it by mail. This is a hassle. People need to go to the mailbox, have stamps and everything else. And we have this smartphone all at hand. So it's the easiest thing to do for everybody to just take a snapshot of a document that you need to send somewhere, attach it to an email, and send it to your, name it, your bank, your insurance company, or whatever it is, telecommunications, utilities, whatever company requires you to send some additional documents or fill out a form or whatever, send it to them as an email attachment. From a corporate side, you'd probably end up with more customers doing just that, taking any kind of info at so-and-so email address and shooting an email there where they used to send you an envelope. Now, what that says inside companies is these companies run probably sophisticated mail rooms. So there's hundreds of thousands of dollars scanners sitting there, many devices, high throughput, and especially high quality devices there. There's all kind of sophisticated software there for doing OCR, for doing document classification, and all this depends on a very high level of document quality after scanning. And this is exactly what you do no longer get when people start to take photos of their documents and send them as email attachments. So you probably end up with a very, very much lower rate of automatic processing, but at least automatic recognition. So the manual work will increase when you move your scanning, or your customers just move their scanning from sophisticated scanning hardware and software into smartphones, and from highly trained scanning operators to somebody who barely does know what he's doing. So no wonder the quality goes down. And then the other thing is an envelope with a piece of paper in it that you receive is pretty analog, and it doesn't come with a whole lot of metadata. Now, when people use their smartphones, they are probably logged in there, or in your application there, or in your app there, or something like that. So there might be all sorts of additional metadata that could be of use to enhance recognition and stuff like that even. But this is just not transported when people take a photo and send that as JPEG as an email attachment to you. So my thought really is, when this is a trend that's unstoppable, and I think that can be assumed. It's safe to assume. It's a trend that's unstoppable, that people use their smartphones to scan quote unquote documents. When that's a trend and you can't get around there, and you have certain demands in your company to receive a certain quality and whatnot, why not make a virtue out of a necessity? So just push it forward and say, okay, we are, again, a utilities company, an insurance, we are a document management company or whatever. We have an app out there that's probably for free, a marketing app or something like that. Why not offering and enhancing your customer service towards your customers? Say, and allow them to say, you can now send us documents electronically, and use that to control at the source that you get a certain quality with those documents, and that you get a connection to your backend systems, and all these nice things. So it's unstoppable anyway. You need a certain level of quality and have to work around bad scans. So again, make a virtue out of a necessity. And if you do so, then probably do it right in the first place. When I'm talking about mobile scanning or scanning on mobile devices, what you probably end up with is, and no worries, it's German language, but the story is still transported here with this sample image. What you probably end up with is something like that. So this easy, simple sample that you have here does already introduce a whole bunch of different problems that you see, that you won't see if you use a dedicated document scanner. So, and scan software. So what you have here is you have a margin here. You don't have a cropped image probably. People probably try to adjust their camera in a way that this gets as small as possible or something, but in the end, there is something. It's never correct if you use a camera app on a smartphone. The other thing that you do not have is a glass plate. Sounds funny, but your scanners, your document scanners, either have a glass plate that avoids three-dimensional distortion like that here. It just flattens the document, or they have a small glass plate at the row where the optics are in a scanner, so that in any case you end up with a probably skewed, but for sure not three-dimensionally distorted kind of document. When you just put a piece of paper on the table like it was done here and take a photo of it, you get this. And it's not only the light that is different here. That's not really an issue for an OCR or something like that, as long as it is not worse than that here. The problem is really this here. It's an almost unpredictable, mismatch, no, not mismatch, unpredictable curves in here in terms of the rows, of the lines of text. For example, like this here. It's even worse than in book scanning. It's not all the same kind of angle in the middle of the book. It's somewhere here. This way is the other way around. There's nothing in the middle. So it's very, very hard to get this straight afterwards. And in order to feed that into an OCR, you definitely have to do that. Otherwise, you end up with bad results. So couple of samples what could go wrong. The next slide again is another sample of what could go wrong. And remember, what can go wrong will go wrong when you give it in the hands of the broader audience of all the users and stuff like that. So in this case, what really happens is the room or the environment was just too dark to take a photo of a document in quote unquote scan a document. The camera app understands that and has a remedy for that immediately. And the remedy is it flashes, which is introducing the next level of a problem, because what you see there in the middle is a very bad spot where the text is erased. There's nothing. So flash is not a solution. Flash is not a solution even when you take a look at this document. You see that it was too dark in the corners, and it's getting lighter and lighter towards the middle, and it's totally too much light in the middle here. So the flash is not even, it's not even possible to get a homogeneous kind of light onto the page, which is again another problem of recognition and sophisticated document processing in mail rooms and where else. Okay, so what I'm saying really is when you turn image capture with a smartphone camera into real mobile scanning, there's a whole lot of things that you need to go through. And one thing is the quality. So I skipped to the middle thing here. Is the quality. So I think there's no way around not only to managing the camera controls and whatnot through your application that you want to enable with scanning, but you definitely have to have imaging SDKs in there. You have to have image processing and also kind of live during acquisition, all the time checking of the image quality. For example, this bad light condition thing that I had before here. You can fix this to an extent, but there's definitely 100% loss somewhere in the middle of this spot. So at one point or another, your app has to go through a process of understanding that this is a bad condition, and it has to say, no, you can't scan that, and reject it rather than fix it later and say, switch the light on, which is in most cases easy to do, but which is not something the user by himself would come up with as an idea. The user says, I can read it. Why can't they read it? They have the expensive machines and I only have my eyes and glasses. So the user is not aware of the problems that you document managers, mailroom managers and so on run into. Yeah, the user is not aware of that, and he also doesn't care about it because the mobile and smartphone culture is so much different than the culture we scanning people are in. So in professional scanning, as my headline here, 1,000+ settings is nothing special. We know what this all means. We understand what text sensitivity in a compression might be or not. We all know what binarization is, what this is, what that is. We have software that easily has 1,000+ different combinations of settings. Just take a look at the PDF compressor that most of you know. Oh, is there something going wrong? Just 1 second. I got a question that might... Mobile battery powered portable scanner. No, this is really about scanning with smartphones. This webinar is about scanning with smartphones. For those who have been late, it's not about mobile scanners taking somewhere. It's not about document scanners. It's about image acquisition scanning with smartphones. Okay, so for those who have been late, good question. I put you in context now. So mobile and smartphone culture is different. No settings, not 1,000+ settings, no settings. I think Steve Jobs said, settings is an excuse for bad app design. Okay, yeah, might be. But what's left over from that is get it right anyway, fix it for me. The app has to do the right thing without bothering the user, which is a very difficult task, giving different kinds of documents, different kinds of environment and light and whatnot. So in the document creation, when you use apps and smartphones to scan, there has to be a whole lot of automatic decision-making, image analysis all the time. And once you get it ready and straight and you have a good quality image acquired of a page or certain pages, I think, and you wouldn't wonder that me as a LoRaTech guy says that, I would say, and then compress it. And why is that? LTE, 4G networks are so fast. Why compress it? Why bother? Just send it over there. No, because most of the customers are on limited contracts. So when you as a bank or insurance or other kind of company offer a mobile scanning option and the first time the customer sent you 30 pages or something like that, his whole monthly quota of data is used up, that's a very bad customer experience. So quality is the key to do anything further, but then the customer experience really depends on that it is also small, that it doesn't eat up his contingent and whatnot. And once that is secured, you can only think about doing more sophisticated processes like PDFA formatting, OCR, PDFA, and all this. Okay, so good. Why not? Just go ahead, straightforward, and implement that. But the problem really is, and okay, I know it's a very old slide, but it helps me explain something. The The problem really is small PDFs, high quality, constant image analysis throughout the snapshot period, where the document is captured and stuff like that. That's all a whole lot of CPU cycles that you need to go through all these sophisticated steps. Versus we have a smartphone in our hand. That is a very limited hardware. Double word. Very limited hardware. That is a very limited capacity in terms of processors and whatnot in there compared to our normal production server level environments that we have. And what you need to do is, I said it, you need to do digital imaging on the fly all the time during scanning. And once you did that, just only the compression in this case, we do the layer compression, we get it really small in color and whatnot. But come on, you have to encode 2 different JPEG 2000 images. You have to do segmentation. You have to implement a JPEG or run a JPEG2 compression, and so on and so forth. That's a whole lot of CPU cycles. That's what I'm saying. For something the user would not even see. So for something the user would have no idea about, why he sits in front of his smartphone and scanning documents and sending it to your insurance company takes so long, right? So the user experience on a smartphone is way different than user experience we all have running it on a production server, because we don't care how long it takes per page almost. What we do is we just add hardware. So this is an example, a production level server, this one here. It's an Intel Xeon processor, 64 cores, 64-bit Windows Server operating, 2.3 gigahertz, 64 gigabytes of RAM. And this computer ends up processing, for example, a 300 dpi document with color and OCR, and it takes them 4.58 seconds to do the compression and the OCR in a row. I'm not even talking about digital imaging and all this kind of stuff. Just really baseline compression and OCRing takes it almost 5 seconds. Now imagine you use your smartphone, take a single page, which is normally not the case. Normally you send a contract with 30 pages or something, and sit in front of your smartphone, and it takes numbers of pages times 5 seconds in order to process it. Somebody would say the smartphone is out of order. Something is wrong. The app crashed or something. It takes forever. It's not acceptable. That's what I'm saying. So the user experience has to be smartphone-like, quick, immediate, and no waiting time, and no settings, and get it right anyway, and high quality. Versus, again, the architecture that we have here. Now compare this server, which is not even a super big thing. It's an average production server. Compare that to our everyday iPhones, and it's not only iPhones, it's same as Androids and whatnot. And we, for example, have an iPhone 4, which is, it's even a 4S, so it's not very old. It's what is it, 2 years old, 3? I don't know. It's still supported by the latest iOS, so it's kind of a sort of a current device still. And it's a single core processor in there. It has 32-bit architecture. It has 800 megahertz only, and it has only 512 megabyte of RAM, which is nothing for digital imaging. I know these images are huge. Number of pixels are huge that you need to process all the time. So that's a very, very limited application, a very, very limited environment. And even an iPhone 6, which is the one I'm going to use today for my presentation here also, it is way better. It has dual core. It has 64-bit architecture, 1.38 gigahertz, a gigabyte of RAM, but still nothing compared to an average server. Now, the question for us used to be, can we do something that we do on production servers now on smartphones and really start offering a service of sophisticated, high-quality scanning for our business customers? And we answered the question now, yes. And it's probably a little bit surprising given the difference in the hardware we still have. But there's one major advantage in these kind of processors, which are not really processors, but system on a chip architectures. So they also have very strong GPU in there, graphic cores in there. And the algorithms we do in digital imaging, in image cleanup, in disk queuing, in compression and OCR and so on, can make wide use of those GPUs and do that. So there's some light at the end of the tunnel that these things, after all, might be fast enough to do something. And you probably guess when we start talking about it now, after we investigated it for years, that the time is now due that you can do something with the last, say, at least 3 generations, which is everything that's still used out there of iPhones and Android devices and something like that. And in order to kind of prove that and see how the user experience really is, and whether, and the other questions are whether the different process steps can be done on the device, or whether we still need to borrow some horsepower in the cloud. And for example, push the image to the cloud, let it OCR there, and then only retrieve back the OCR result, which is a available solution. Or can we do it on the device, which is way easier in terms of setup and user experience or something like that? Can it be done? And the reason is, the answer is it can be done. It can be done in a time frame that is absolutely suitable for the user experience being smartphone-like. So now what I'm going to do now is I am going to give you a view on the iPhone I have in hand here. It's not a simulator, and it's not working. Oh, no, now it's working. It's not a simulator. This thing is a real iPhone, and I use Reflector, which is an app on my Mac computer here, and I have this iPhone in hand here, and it just displays by AirPlay. You see that the interface of the iPhone to the Mac screen here, so that you can see what I'm doing on my iPhone. It's not a simulator, so everything you see in computational time is measured on an iPhone and not on a simulator or a host computer. Can somebody put in the questions a yes or something if you see the iPhone screen? Sometimes it's not working. Somebody raised a hand. Is that a sign that it's good? Raise it again. Yes, it's working. Okay, good. Now, what I'm going to do now is leave the settings here, and you see an app that shows the Luratech company logo, and therefore you can guess, and I'm pushing this app here, therefore you can guess this is our prototype. It's not our app. It's not a real suggestion of a user interface, but it is a prototype application that allows us to test and see and demonstrate that these devices are capable of doing OCR compression and whatnot. So what I do now is I push the camera button on the lower, in the middle down there low, the camera button, and it opens the camera. And now you can see really my live camera in the room where I am here. And what you can also hear in our meeting room here where I'm doing the webinar. So now, and what you also see is there's a document sitting on my table here. And what normally happens is you try to make this document fit into your camera as good as can. And while I'm trying here, I recognize, oh, this is a very difficult task. It doesn't sound like, but it's a very difficult task in terms of angle and where's the camera. It's not in the middle of the device. It's somewhere on the edges or something like that. So what you probably end up with in the end is you shoot a document and it's more looking like that here. Bang, document shot. Okay, and we're going to use that photo. So again, the reason is the result is you need digital imaging in that here. And the prototype already understands, okay, this part is the document part, and you see you end up with a trapeze kind of form here, and you need to make it into a rectangle again, stretch it a little bit and whatnot to end up with a proper formed A4 or letter-sized document in the end. And we're saying no user interaction, so we try to detect it automatically. But then, of course, sometimes these algorithms might fail because there's a cable or another something running over the table that is detected as an edge or something. So you can also manually correct it, so like that, and find the right place where the document really sits. Now take a close look, because I'm going to process the document now by pushing the play button on the lower side here. And you see, of course, there's a certain hourglass or something like that takes the time, and we already have a preview of our document. It's a color document where the preview is just black and white. We have all kinds of grayscale, and the logo on the top left corner is some red-brown mix or something. I show you later, open this in Acrobat Reader here on the iPhone. Now, again, this is a prototype and it doesn't look very good. Our app will look better. Anyway, when you push the info button in the middle down there, you also see some debug information. And the debug information you see is that under the conditions where I took this image here, you end up with probably something that is similar to a 300 dpi full color scan in terms of the resolution and the size and everything. We compressed that down to 40 kilobytes using our MRC compression. And the time it took for the compression time is 1.2 seconds. This is faster than your production server, and the reason obviously is the GPU that we have in here. Another thing we used here is we didn't do it sequentially and do the compression first and then the OCR, but we did it in parallel. We have 2 CPU cores in these devices now, and so the OCR time is 1.25 seconds. And it is added up to a total processing time, as it is not 100% parallel. Some other stuff is to be done there, I/O and whatnot, of 1.33 seconds to process that page fully from compression over PDF formatting and OCRing and creating a full text searchable PDF. Okay, I think that's pretty decent. It's about time. You can do that. The iPhone 5, by the way, has 5S has also a 64-bit dual-core application. All the Androids are very similar. All the people start a war about what's better and not, but from a technical standpoint, all these devices are very comparable. So the current 3 versions, which is probably about 99% of all the devices that are out there and still used every day, are able to process digital imaging and everything else in a time that is totally smartphone user experience compatible. Okay, I said that settings are equal, but what I did is I switched this to fast OCR, and yes, this is using on the device an Abby mobile OCR SDK or engine in here. And when I switch it to regular processing, which gives it a higher accuracy, which I do now, the time will increase, but not badly. You see, the turnaround time is not bad. It's acceptable. It's in this case 1.76 seconds total for compression and OCRing and some digital imaging stuff like desk queuing and whatnot, and cutting the images and the trapeze correction and whatnot. So again, pretty decent. And what you can do, obviously, next here is, sorry, this thing, calendar. What you can do next here is you can open this file in Acrobat Reader, and here is not only displayed as a preview, but it's color. When you zoom in there, it's looking pretty decent. This is really a rough hack, no real automation or parameter detection that we will do in our later products. But I think for something out of the labs, you understand what it is. It's OCR'd. The bounding boxes are pretty decent. It's sort of comparable to what you would end up with doing the same thing on a desktop computer. Now, when that should be it for the presentation part of that, and let's switch back to the presentation here. You might understand when I am introducing this to you now, and I'm saying it's possible for all the generations of hardware that are out there, that Luratech is going into a new direction, that this prototype is not just done out of fun, but really for something that we offer in a very foreseeable time. So what's available already is an iOS version of our PDF compression SDK. So most of you know the PDF compressor. Some of you know PDF SDKs, compression SDKs, as we have them for Windows and Linux and whatnot. A comparable thing is also available for iOS now, which is doing MRC compression, PDF, PDFA formatting, and that is done as a library that you can use in your applications. I did say that this is only half of the story, because first and foremost, you have to get the quality right. And we will prove that to you all that we can do that, or that our current development is really producing some great results by coming up with an iOS scanning app, and that will be on the Apple App Store before Christmas this year, and will be free at launch time at least. And it will look way nicer than our prototype does, and will also do a whole lot of better features and image processing and whatnot. But anyway, this again is not the real product that we suggest for you guys to use, but what we really come up with, the product is what we might call an iOS application framework SDK, or app framework SDK. So if you're an insurance company, if you're a document management company, or if you're anybody else who probably already has an app and wants to add scanning functionality to that, you get everything you need out of the box using our iOS app framework SDK for your scanning. It does include the iOS compression SDK for sure. It includes camera control, including managing of light and flash. It includes imaging features like cleaning up, cropping, rejecting if it's too dark, deskew, and a whole lot more. It does parallel and background processing, by the way. So once you're busy scanning the second page, we already pre-process the first page in the background in terms of imaging, in terms of probably OCRing it, whatever time we have, we will use, so that when the last page is scanned, the document is ready. That's what we try to do. And it's done, again, also in the iOS application framework. You can have that once it's out around Christmas for your own apps. There's an interface to the Abby Mobile OCR SDK in there, so that you can use that together if you want to offer OCR on the device. It has a local list of documents, so some management of that can be edited, moved, deleted, stored, whatever, reopened. It can change documents that are already ready, so you can add pages, turn pages, move pages around in documents. So I don't know, you scanned this contract with your signature on the last page, and now some minor changes there, you need to exchange a page, and you scan that page and add it to an existing document. It's of course possible here. And the output formats of this iOS app framework, as well as our app, are JPEG series, so series of single page JPEG images as a multi-page document, as well as multi-page PDF and PDF-A formats for sure. There is an interface to connect to your backend, or of course there are all the name it cloud services, very famous cloud services out there that you can interface with from our app, and thus also from the iOS application framework, because what else is in there is the source code of our iOS scan app. So when you're giving this iOS application framework, app framework SDK to your team of app developers, they get everything they need to do it very quickly, as nice as you will see it, in our own iOS app starting around Christmas. Android will follow soon in April 2015 with the same product lineup. Okay. Oh yeah. There's the question that I had this morning as well. What about Windows Mobile? And yeah, I know it's a total war out there about who's into which platforms, and we haven't yet decided about Windows Mobile. So probably if you are stressing it enough and prove it that you need it in terms of your app is also deployed on Windows and you would need it on Windows or something like that, just let us know. We still need data to take a decision of whether Windows Mobile as the next platform also needs to be supported or not. Share your insights, and we'll take a look at that. So what I also can say is this is not a game here, something that is not a side business or so. We are serious about this offering here, and therefore we will do whatever is needed. And when Windows Mobile is needed, we will do it. We just do not yet have an answer whether it's needed or not. So in any case, it will only follow iOS and Android in a certain time if we decide to do it. Okay, that's the end of my presentation, but I still see a couple of questions that, oh yeah, that also might help giving a little bit more context here or there. Oh yeah, one is what about different iOS versions? What about different display sizes? Okay, yeah, of course, the new iPhone 6 are out with, again, a larger resolution. And what about the iPads? Do you support your app? Yes. Yeah, the answer is yes, yes, and yes. Again, we take it serious. Our approach to it is there is anyway fast changes in it. At any given time, there's a new release of a hardware or a software version of the different operating systems. And so we see that this is a product that will generate very, very regular updates that we need to be after and publish and also give you in hand. So when you are a customer of, say, our application framework here, we will keep it current for you, so that the support of a different display size or an iPad instead of an iPhone or something like that is totally given. Yes, this is an application framework. This is an SDK for a platform. Is it iOS or Android? And therefore, we will definitely take care of it, and you're covered in a way. Okay, there's another question that is, tough question. It's about license costs and license models. Obviously, you are a user of our Windows SDK or something like that, because the question is about whether we license it is in the same way as we did in Windows. So I think the question points into the direction whether we have both an SDK license and runtime licenses, and whether it's throughput oriented or per copy or something like that. It's not the same as, for example, in Windows and our SDKs there. It can be, because we will have a variety of applications out there. Again, think about the marketing app for an insurance company, a bank, or whatever, a utilities company that needs to be enhanced now with scanning capabilities. Those apps regularly go for free and have no price. In this specific cases, it's also possible to have no runtime licenses. If it is a paid app, we will do something like an OEM agreement where we see a fair extra value that our piece adds to your product, and then see something about what the royalties have to be. But again, it's possible that free apps get a no runtime license contract, and for that, for those who know, and I think the question is from somebody who really knows, the SDK price is a little bit higher, but then on the other hand, we have 20% maintenance for that. And the maintenance gets you covered for all the different new platforms, hardwares, devices, operating systems, and whatnot. And it's a platform SDK for either iOS or Android, or you have to buy both independently. Questions about pricing? You know what? Shoot me an email, and let's talk about that one-on-one. Okay, I think it's 40 minutes into the webinar. I have time to at least answer another question. Is there a demo application to see the capabilities of the SDK? Oh, yeah, that's a tad difficult, because the iOS App Store and everything is pretty limited on promo codes and all that kind of stuff, and we do not yet have that application in the iOS store. So our thought is really, once we come up with the iOS App Framework SDK, we will have that iOS Scan app for free on the App Store in the same moment. So at that very moment, you can just go to the App Store and download our own iOS Scan app, and this shows you everything how it is in the iOS App Framework SDK. So that's the demo app that you can then get for free. At this very moment in time, we don't have a demo app I could just give you. you would have to have one of our developer profiles on your testing device for a limited time. For a limited number of customers, we can definitely arrange so. It's not that completely straightforward in terms of a process, but shoot me an email after the webinar if you're interested, and we try to figure something out so that you can take your own look and make your own mind about it. Okay. I think from a standpoint of more generic questions, that's it for the moment. For those who have these 1, 2, 3 very specific questions that I still see here, I'm going to contact you by email or call you, not right after the webinar, but probably later in the day, today or tomorrow, and answer your very specific questions. All the others, at this point, I'm concluding my presentation. Hope you liked it. If you have questions coming up later, again, I told you to contact me several times. Here is my contact information on the screen. My mobile phone number is there. My email address is there. Don't hesitate. Contact me, and I try to answer your questions as good as I can also after the webinar. Again, hope you liked it. Pleasure to have you here today, and I hope you join me and us at Luratag for our next webinar next time. Thank you very much, and have a good day, everybody.